Hi, and welcome to Montreal Rocks. Today, we're very excited to have the Motorleague, which is a great band from the East Coast. We have with us Byrne, who's probably known more for I Mother Earth. Uh, and by the way, I'm very impressed by you because I remember seeing one of your shows in Montreal, and it's very rare that when a band comes in to replace an original singer, they actually do a job where you actually say, this is just as good, if not better. So congrats on that.
Thank
And
you.
also, we have Don Levandier from the band with us. Thanks for being on the show, boys.
Thanks, man. This is awesome.
And there is a connection. You guys are, I think, Brian, you're from originally from Newfoundland, Labrador, and the rest of the band is from down east. Now, I've been to Halifax, and I have to say that there's this really cool vibe about being down east. As Canadians, we're known to be, very happy people, very gracious people, but it's you guys seem to take it up a notch down in Halifax, specifically as the town I was in. So, what are you most proud about in terms of the East Coast vibe?
I think if you're gonna, talk Halifax, I think like if you had to take one staple city that kind of represented the entire East Coast, I think Halifax is a good way to go. It does represent Atlantic Canada very well. I think for me, what I would be most proud about, like, there's a lot of people out here that just never leave. There's people that will live and die their entire lives in Atlantic Canada, and I think that that brings with it a sense of humility or like a little bit of a humbleness, and even almost like an imposter syndrome or something. And I think I'm most proud about I think I'm most proud about that. What would you say, Brian?
Um, I'm not. I mean, I always think I'm a little biased to say, exactly what you said, Randall. That it's really friendly and it's really open and welcoming. But like I have lived a bunch of different places in Canada and traveled quite a bit, and I keep getting drawn back. Like even when I lived away, when my my wife and I had the kiddos, we came back. We were drawn back, and there's there's just something very I don't know. It's very comforting about it, and it's very it's very down to earth, and like Don said, there's humility and humbleness to these roots. Everybody's generally like people here are so incredibly creative. I mean, not to take away from any other part of the world or Canada, but everybody you bump into down here plays guitar or has done something that is very creative, visually, whatever. It's just there's a it's like a bit of an epicenter for the arts, I think.
Based on the kitchen parties, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think also being from down east, there's a sort of a family feeling. You feel like you're part of a niche group of people, and I think that's maybe why Brian, you were able to be a collaborator on this some of these songs. So how did you connect with the Motor League for the single?
Well, I'm okay. So, I played in the other band, and then I had a stint on a radio station actually down here in Halifax as a DJ. I knew about the Motor League, but our station played them quite a bit, and I got really drawn in, and I really honestly quickly became a huge fan of the Motor League, and I talked about it and I tweeted about it, and Twitter's still a thing apparently, and so I reached out to Don. I just really I had this like this torch for the Motor League because honestly, from my perspective, and this Don will love this, not to be disingenuous, John or Don. But I really think that the Motor League are one of the greatest rock bands that you either know already or you haven't heard yet, and I mean that. I really truly mean it. So when the fellows were writing their new stuff and Don said, maybe it's something we can do together, I was all about it. I was only too happy to collaborate, and just the again, not to gush too much, but they're just incredible rock songs.
A lot of respect. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was sorry, Ryan, go ahead, man.
No, it's all about you, not about me.
There was there's like a when we first started kind of connecting with Brian, I think these things always happen over Twitter, over Instagram or something. You just start by like tagging. That's how everything starts, right? Like you tag, somebody tags you and you're like, oh, I can't believe this person tagged us or whatever. And it's, you get really excited. But I remember when we first started kind of connecting, with Brian, it was like, there's this video on YouTube and it's like Jimmy Fallon or something. And it's like when he first gets his show. And I think I want to say it's like Kim Basinger or somebody, but it's like somebody who's more established than Jimmy Fallon. And they're like trying to date him. And he doesn't really believe that it's true. He's like, wow, this can't actually be, this isn't real. And he kind of misses out on that opportunity because he doesn't believe that it's a real thing. And we're, the Jimmy Fallon and this, but when we started talking to Brian, it was like, okay. And, we played a show I think it was in Truro, and he got up and sang with us. And still, I think moments before we were going online or we were going on stage, we're like, is this happening? Like, is he going to get up and do the track with us live? And he did. And it was just like, okay, cool. This is happening. This is like real. So needless to say, growing up, I was a huge I Mother Earth fan. I loved all of their records, but I was a big Brian Byrne fan. So having him kind of, it's great for him to say like he was gushing over us, but I think the gushing was going the other way.
And he slid into the DMs.
Exactly.
So, well, one thing I know, I've obviously never seen you live, and obviously shows have been put on pause this year, and who knows for how longer. But I heard that your band is definitely a band that is in high demand when there's a tour coming along town. That you're one of the few bands that will just be on the bill all the time because you're just that good, and people, you draw in a crowd, the local crowd especially. I want to talk a little bit about this new single, Discordia. First of all, I got to ask you: is it at any way related to the Mighty Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Because apparently there's like a boss in this show. I never seen it before in my life. I knew about it when I was a kid. There's a boss, and the superpower of this boss is making people dance uncontrollably.
Okay. I would consider myself of above average Power Rangers knowledge. And I don't remember that particular boss, but I got to find out now. That's funny. Like I had no idea that was a thing. So we need to look that up. I'm going to say, yes, it's definitely related. Just
why not?
The subconscious.
Uncontrollable dancing. If you go to a Motorleague show, that's what we're going to expect.
Yes, I hope so. I hope that's the truth one day.
Well, let's talk about your band name. We know it's inspired from a song from Propaganda,
yes.
Which refers to pablum. In other words, something very bland. So how has the Motorleague fought the fine fight against the bland?
Wow. Oh, okay. So the Motorleague, I never got that out of that song. You're 100% right that the Motorleague took its name from that Propaganda song, and I'm a huge Propaganda fan, and we've played with them, and that was weird. It was really weird. It was like I felt like it was like kind of like having your dad watch you go on a date. It was just really strange. They were just kind of in the crowd, like, and they were super nice, but it was really weird. I just never thought when we started our band that we'd ever get to share a stage with them. But to me, that song was really about small town music scenes. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's where the problem comes in, but just that small town kind of vibe, and like, are you going to commit to, you're going to give up everything in your life to pursue a rock band, or are you going to go back and work your 9-to-5 job? And we were all working 9-to-5 jobs when we started the band, clearly. So it was just kind of a dig at like our local scene just we do live in a really small town out here, and there is a lot of small town mentality, and there's a lot of bands that'll talk about other bands, and it was just kind of a response to that. And also, I mean, I think it's just one of the best songs ever written, so it was that. But Pablum, wow, I never got that song. I think you're right.
Well, you definitely have to put in the work. And like you said, it's easy to become a band that just blends in with everybody else, bland like Pablum. But to be noticed, for example, by Brian, you have to stand out and to make something of real substance and to be original. And I think that's what the band has been doing. I mean, I heard the song and I was hooked right away. It was the first time I ever heard it. So I can totally understand how Brian felt, just getting an appreciation. And I'm looking forward to getting to the catalog a little bit more. My next question revolves again about the East. Now, in the Bay of Fundy, they have this phenomenon called the tidal bore. And this is where the tide that goes up the river against the current. So thinking of your career, where have you gone up against the current? And I'll ask that to Brian as well after.
Okay. I think, wow. So I don't know if you have any natural phenomenon that are kind of like.
I'm in Montreal.
Well, I know that, and we're not. We could do a whole other show on poutine, how much we love it. But the tidal bore here is like, it's very much kind of a tourist trap. Like, it's one of those things that they try to get tourists in to see it, and then they see it and they're kind of like, are you really, like, that was it. So like, apparently like 100 years ago, it was this massive 6-foot wave. And in the city where we live, they put a bridge in, and it wrecked the river. So now the tidal bore's like not even half a foot. It's just, you blink and you'll miss it. And I'm kind of finding it funny that you could very much parallel that to our career. But when have we gone against the current? For a band from our town, from Moncton, New Brunswick, like. I think going against the current for us was the first time we left not Moncton, I guess, but the East Coast. We left Atlantic Canada, and we went to Toronto to make our first record with Ian Blurton. And that was just a huge thing. We were out of our league. We were not ready at all. We were kids, and we just got in over our heads. And we made this record, and when you hear it, I mean, it's like, you can tell these are like nervous children on this record, and it's just so frantic and so fast. And when I listen to it now, I'm just exhausted, because it's just like, I can feel how nervous I was when I was doing that. We were surrounded by these people that we kind of idolize. I mean, at one point, somebody gave me a pedal to use on the record. They're like, "Oh, be careful, that belongs to Geddy." And I was like, and it just took me a second to be like, yeah, this was, somebody loaned me one of Geddy Lee's pedals. And I was just like, are you for real? Like, and I think that's it, like leaving the nest and really taking a risk and going out and doing that. And our guitar player, Nathan, he kind of put his foot down and said, like, I don't want to make a record in New Brunswick. I want to go all in. I want to go to Toronto. I want to make like a record, like a real record with a real producer. I don't want to do like a basement record, which is kind of, it's what a lot of small town bands will do, is like they'll make the $300 record versus the, taking the risk. And we took the risk, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But that was very much going against the current for us. Yeah,
no, when you burn the boats, so to speak, and kind of just take a chance on something and really go all in, it really makes a big difference. What about you, Brian? In your musical career, have you had to go against the tide, so to speak, and to do the things that you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I just want to jump back for 1 second, because there's actually a reference in an old I'm Mother Earth song. Well, the song is actually called Shortcut to Moncton, and it was written before I joined the band. But there's a line in it that actually says, you can see the tidal wave of disappointment. And I always love that line, and love Chris's lyric writing. So just to reference that. But for myself, I think, it was a bit of a different path. I was, coming from East. I moved to Toronto. I don't even know. I don't know how much money I had in my pocket. I was going. That was it. And the first band that I was in Toronto, the guitar player is actually the guitar player for 3 Days Grace.
Okay.
Gary and I, we lived together for quite a while, and you know, did that whole thing. You know, I was fortunate enough, I guess, to you know, sort of be thrown into an already established band, and everything was kind of set up. But I was green as green gets. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I was going to all these meetings, and you know, it was just, you know, all I wanted to do was play music, and I was thrust into the all of the other stuff, the corporate side and the industry stuff, which, you know, I think, you know, from my perspective, was a really good thing, in that I wasn't already jaded. I was wide-eyed and open to everything, and I was really excited to see it all. And I think that it set me up to like, just, you know, want to be collaborative and want to work with everybody and be friends with everybody and not talk. I mean, because I saw a lot of that too. So when I took a break from My Mother Earth, I was really big into folk music and old country stuff, and, you know, kind of, I did a couple of solo records that I really, you know, couldn't get arrested for, and I definitely went against the tide then, where people were like, well, you're too rock to be country, and you're too country to be rock, and like all this kind of nonsense. But I still, you know, again, was fortunate enough to be allowed to make records that I wanted to make, whether they were received or not. And you know, these days I'm not really that active in creating anything. Nobody wants me to be in their band, so I've done other things. But again, that, you know, the platform that was On Mother Earth, and all the things that I did, and all the things I was lucky enough to do, kind of set me up to do all these other neat things outside of, like, in an entrepreneurial space, and still be creative and be involved in cool projects. So I think I'm, you know, like, not from a punk rock ethos, but I'm certainly, I've gone against, you know, my parents' tide for most of my life. But it's been good. It's been really.
You didn't grow up to be a lawyer or a doctor, right?
No, I didn't. No. I mean, that was on the docket, like, you know, long ago. I actually was doing my Bachelor of Science. I wanted to be a doctor, but you know, I don't think anybody would trust this GP. So
just maybe GP for guitar player, that would work.
yeah, I can't play guitar either.
So
I'd say, Brian, give you 2 weeks, man. You could be either one of those things. You've worn a lot of hats.
I want to go back to the music of the Motorleague, and how we're speaking of punk just now. The band kind of went from this like 90s skater punk to a phase where it's kind of stoner rock. How would you describe the 2021 sound?
Yeah, that's a good call on you're 100% right, and that's always been kind of a problem with the band. You know, even like putting us on a bill has been difficult, because like half of our set will sound one way and half of it'll sound the other way. And I think that's just a problem with me. Like, I just can't commit to anything, you know. I'm like, I want to have a little bit of Caius, and I also want to have a little bit of Pennywise or NoFX or something. And I think it was maybe on when we made the Holding Patterns record in 2015. Eric Ratz, who produced that record and produced our newer singles as well, I think he kind of called me out on it and was like, what are you doing? You need to like find one,
Pick a lane.
Yeah, exactly. He said, you know, find one pot, and then, you know, just sit on that, you know, stop all these other kind of. So yeah, it was really like, the new stuff is just trying to find what comes natural, just like forget anything I love or I idolize or want to sound like, or just play, and whatever comes out, you know. And I think that there is like this mid-tempo kind of, there's still a little bit of a punky element to it, but it's like, for me, I want it to feel like it's not trying so hard. Like, I'm not trying hard to really do a certain kind of sound. It's just whatever comes out, and that's it. And I think we got it on this one. I think for me, I feel comfortable being like, that's it. Like when I hear that,
That's the sound.
yeah, when I hear that sound, I think that's the Motorleague. I don't necessarily think, well, that's, this sound or this band or whatever. I just wanted people to hear and be like, oh, I can identify it as that band. But I mean, it took 4 records to get there.
Yeah, as a fan of the Motorleague, it's funny because again, like Don and I haven't talked in quite a while, but it's always been very easy to like get back in the conversation, like yeah, it's and so my wife and I were driving yesterday into town, and I was like, I knew these a couple of conversations were coming up, and I just put on the Motorleague, like I just wanted to listen to it, and I looked at my wife and I said, it's funny, like just when you don't think it could possibly go anywhere cooler, it does. And that's really true. I think about, not to step back too far, Don, but, all the words, when I listen to that song, it's like, okay, first of all, the verse is great. And then it's like a B verse and then the chorus smashes you in the face. It's like, I get, and I'm talking about it and I get all goosebumpy, and it's just, there's a feeling in those songs, like you feel something. It's not just aggression or tempo or whatever. It's all of the things in its delivery that make it really whole and beautiful, And I always joke, and I know Don won't believe me, but I go like to Tara, my wife, I'm like, Dave Grohl would love to be able to write a song like all the words. And it's nothing. Listen, man, I'm a huge Dave Grohl fan. Don't get me wrong, but just the hooks are bleh. I don't know, and I can't say anymore. But so good.
Just call us up, Dave. We'll hook you up. We'll get you Don's number, and we'll make it happen.
Love Dave Grohl.
The band was able to play a few shows during the pandemic, obviously reduced shows. How much of a gap is there between a pre-pandemic and a pandemic show?
Time-wise, we played a couple shows with the Shrews last February, and then that was it. And then we played 2 shows in October, and it was weird. It was really weird.
Like, what was the vibe in a pandemic show, which is obviously a much more reduced capacity, or I don't even know. You might not even have had anybody in the studio. Maybe it was a streaming one.
No, we did. See, we've got this thing out here called, we had this thing called the Atlantic Bubble, which is we were able to travel freely within the 4 provinces, and I think partially because of luck and partially because of the space out here, like we don't have the urban sprawl that you'd have in a bigger city. We just don't have the populations. So the pandemic has affected us less until just very recently. But yeah, we were able to do it. We were able to do some shows, and I think it was like a foot in the water kind of thing. It's like, well, let's try this out and see how it feels, and see, like, even if it's a thing we should be doing. We really wanted to support the venues. Like, there's venues out there that are trying to put butts in seats, and they're trying to just to have their employees work and not have to lay people off. So it was like, all right, well, can we do this ethically and safely, and not put anybody at risk, but then still have it so these venues that we love don't have to close up. So it's really, like, it's just mind-boggling to even try to get behind the what's the right play here. But it was weird, man. It's so weird. It's so weird because you're trying to light up and you're trying to like get into it, and then it's just people seated, and they're seated like really far apart. Natural, right? No, and like, it's weird, man. When people are at a show and they're getting rowdy, it just feels so natural. But when they're seated, you got like 3 people and they're seated and they're really, really, really rowdy at like a table. It's just weird because like nobody else is, so you're only looking at them. It's a different vibe altogether. I think like if that was the new normal, we could probably get used to it if we had to, but I don't know. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Well, let's go back to a time where playing music live was in front of a large crowd. Now, I'm always interested about this because when you're playing live and you feel that you're in the pocket, everything is like going just awesome. Are you the type of person or the type of player that you tend to, like, time slows down and you just all of a sudden pay attention and see everything going? Or do you, or some other people kind of like lose track of time and it's as if they don't even remember what they did. They were on autopilot, and that was when they did their best moves.
Mhm.
How do you feel about when playing live music? Are you one or the other, or somewhere in between?
For me, I'm like it disappears. It's yeah, 100% autopilot, and just a lot of times I'll be like, 45-minute set or an hour set or whatever will go by in like 12 minutes. It's just gone. On the good nights, right? Those
Mhm.
nights where things are taking forever, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, I know those nights too, and those are the rough nights. Those are the nights when you're in a town when where nobody knows you and you're playing to six people. Like, yes, those nights drag on, but the nights like the show we played where Brian got up and sang with us, like I have no recollection of that 45 minutes.
And I don't think it's autopilot, because autopilot would mean that you don't care and you're just thinking about something else. I believe that that time where you don't remember that time is not autopilot, but it's instinct. It's where you're playing from a true space from within you, and that's when you're at your purest form. And I think that's why time flies, and you might not even remember it because it's so pure.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
it's you're in the zone, right? Like that's what that is. That thing that athletes get, like they're just in the zone. It's that.
so. Don, you once mentioned that in one of your songs, or or no, actually, it wasn't a song. I think it's a quote you said. Your measurement of wealth is the number of miles on your odometer. Do you miss being on the road? And what was maybe your most memorable road trip?
I mean, yeah, I desperately miss being on the road. There's a couple summers, like or maybe like 5 or 6 years, where we just lived on the road. It felt like, and we would go out for like 3 months at a time. Just U.S., Canada. I went to Europe once. I absolutely miss it. Most memorable was our first time. The first time we ever went all the way, to BC, and it was scary because again we were a lot younger and we were kids and we were crammed into this little tiny Dodge Caravan with like every piece of gear we could fit and no room, and there was nothing safe about it at all. It was really, if it was my kid, like I wouldn't let my kid do that, assuming. But yeah, we went out with Gordie Johnson's band Grady, and it was surreal. Like we just couldn't believe it. Like we got to the coast, we got to the west coast. There's a Thrush Hermit song called "The Day We Hit the Coast" about
Mhm.
the first time they got to BC and they just put their feet in the water, and we had to do it right, like the other ocean, the Pacific Ocean. It was crazy. It was like I can't believe we did this. And I mean, it was incidents where coming down Rogers Pass in the Rockies, we thought we were gonna die. Like we were terrified in the winter, you know what I mean? Like just coming down this mountain, we couldn't stop, and there was trucks stopped down at the bottom. We thought we were all screaming like, ah! And there's so many memories on that tour and I met people who I'm still friends with to this day. Like I had like a 2-hour phone call the other night with one of the guys from that tour that we just met, that we just made lifelong friendships. So yeah, that was the first time for sure, and I desperately miss being on the road. 100%.
It's funny because I think that every single band in Canada has a Rogers Pass story.
Yeah.
Truly, no matter what mode of transportation, something has happened, and yeah, it's you remember those things like I remember a show that we did in Prince Edward Island one time, and I don't even remember the show itself at all, not 1 second of it. I remember being so sick, and it was in the wintertime, and I had a fever, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to do the show, and that was like my one of my craziest memories, where like I felt like I had no voice, I had a fever, like all this stuff. The show was like almost inconsequential. I was trying to figure out how to get that done and still perform and that kind of thing. But it's yeah, I now I miss being on the road.
Sorry. I want to circle back to the new single before we end this. I don't want to take too much of your time. I thank you for the time you've given me so far. I keep seeing a horse in different forms. What is the significance of the horse?
Oh, well, very much right when we went to go record this group of singles that we did with Brian and everything. We just lost. We toured a lot. I think coming out off of that year, we were tired, and it just was like, do we want to keep doing this? Is there any point left in doing this? And myself and the guitar player decided to keep going, and our drummer and our bass player left, and we were kind of like, are we beating a dead horse? Yes or no, right? And we brought two of our good friends in, and they've been with us ever since, and it kind of rejuvenated the band. It just made it fun again. When you got it, like, it's not always easy to be in a band that travels a lot, and like a very, I would use the word mid-level band very generously in our case, but yeah, it was just like no dead horses. That was the whole thing. We said, like, are we beating a dead horse or not? And it's like, no, if we're gonna do it, let's go all in and let's do it. We're not gonna let this be a dead horse. We're gonna, like, really kind of try to energize it. So all the artwork on the singles has been just various ways that I could come up with to keep horses alive. Like, there's a horse with armor on it. There's a horse with like a World War I kind of style gas mask on it, which is a real thing that they did. Yeah. And of course, obviously this one, we got the medical mask on him. It was just like a way to kind of string the singles together, right? It was just
horsing around, right?
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Last question. Just more of a fun question. So you've probably heard of fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
I like to play fantasy rock band. So
tough.
If you could create the ultimate rock band, this tells us a lot about your inspirations, by the way, but I won't tell you that till after. So if you're about to create the ultimate rock band with, we can resurrect characters, no problem. Pick whoever you like. Who would you put? Frontman, guitar, bass, drums.
This is a great question. I guess I'll start this one. I'm gonna put Danko Jones on guitar. I'm gonna put Brant Bjork on drums. And if you're not familiar with Brant Bjork, he goes back to the early Caius days and kind of like that Queen's.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Caius.
Okay, so Brant Bjork on drums. Yeah, Danko on guitar. Let's put who do you want to put on bass? Maybe like Ben Richardson from Grady on bass, and let's put Brian Byrne on vocals, because I do think he is one of the greatest singers for sure.
Oh Jesus, that's man, you had so many people to pick from.
Okay, yours. Well, let's do yours, Brian. What do you got?
Oh,
you're not allowed to use anyone from Motorleague either. I already used up that one. So.
All right. Let me see. I'm gonna go with. Oh boy. This is tough, man. I'm gonna go. I love Bonzo. I'm gonna go John Bonham, Robert Trujillo.
Oh wow!
Okay. On bass,
Richards, and Freddie Mercury.
That would be a really interesting sound.
I've got the calls out.
Yeah, man, that's kind of like.
You might have a hard time getting Freddie Mercury to answer back, but keep trying.
Yeah. But yeah, I it's funny because, like, I'm always drawn to, like, all like classic rock, and I go back to stuff. Freddie Mercury's still one of those guys, no matter, like, no matter what, like, I can't get over his, not just range, but just like his ability to tap into different tones and his inflection and phrasing and everything. Is like, oh my God. And it's not even something that I listen to all of the time. It's not like that. It's just he
kind of kills respect, right?
Yeah.
No arguments here, man.
Well, thanks so much. We can't wait I think there's a new video coming out for the single.
Yes.
When is it coming out?
Couple weeks when I get it finished.
All right. So we look forward to having you guys visit Montreal on a proper tour. Whether we have a face mask or not, we hopefully will go wild for you, like they do everywhere else in Canada. and everywhere else you tour. Thanks so much, guys, for being with us, and wish you all the best.
Hey,
Thanks,
thank you so
Brandon.
much, man. Thank you. Cheers.
See you
All right.
guys.